The rain hammered against the cracked windshield of Mike Harlan's old pickup truck as he navigated the slick streets of Willow Creek, a small town nestled in the rolling hills of upstate New York. It was late, past 10, and the diner where he worked the evening shift had been dead all night. Tips were scarce, and the weight of another long day pressed heavy on his shoulders. His 10-year-old daughter, Lily, was waiting at home with Sarah Jenkins, the neighbor who babysat when Mike couldn't afford anything else. The thought of Lily's bright smile was the only thing keeping him going. Mike was 35, but the lines etched into his face made him look a decade older. Life hadn't been kind to him. 5 years ago, his wife, Emily, had passed away in a car accident, leaving him to raise Lily alone. The medical bills had piled up, the house was in foreclosure, and every day was a juggling act to keep food on the table and the lights on. He wasn't complaining, he'd do anything for Lily, but some nights, the exhaustion felt like it might swallow him whole. As he turned onto Maple Street, his headlights caught a figure huddled under the awning of the closed pharmacy. It was a girl, maybe 16 or 17, soaked to the bone despite the flimsy jacket she wore. Her dark hair clung to her face, and she was shivering, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Mike slowed the truck, his instincts warring with caution. Willow Creek was a safe town, but you didn't just pick up strangers. Still, something about the way she stood, small, vulnerable, like a kicked puppy, tugged at his heart. He rolled down the window, the cold rain splashing against his arm. "Hey, you okay?" he called out. The girl looked up, her green eyes wide and wary. "I'm fine," she said, but her voice trembled, betraying her. "You're gonna catch your death out here," Mike said, leaning across the seat. "It's pouring. You got somewhere to go." She hesitated, glancing down the empty street. "Not really." Mike sighed, running a hand through his damp hair. He didn't have much, but he couldn't leave her out here. "Look, I'm not some creep. I've got a kid at home, a daughter. My place isn't fancy, but it's warm and dry. You can crash for the night, figure things out in the morning. No strings." The girl studied him for a long moment, as if weighing her options. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, thanks." She climbed into the truck, dripping water onto the worn upholstery. Up close, Mike could see she was younger than he'd thought, maybe 15. Her clothes were nice, though a designer jacket and boots that looked out of place in a town like Willow Creek. She clutched a small backpack to her chest like it was her only lifeline. "I'm Mike," he said, pulling back onto the road. "Mike Harlan." "Chloe," she replied softly, not offering a last name. "You run away from home or something?" he asked, keeping his tone light. Chloe stared out the window. "Something like that." Mike didn't push. He knew what it was like to carry burdens you didn't want to talk about. The rest of the ride was quiet. The only sound the rhythmic swipe of the windshield wipers, and the occasional sniffle from Chloe, as she tried to warm up. When they pulled into the driveway of Mike's small, weathered house, the porch light flickered weakly. Sarah's car was still parked out front, and Mike felt a pang of guilt for keeping her so late. He grabbed Chloe's backpack to carry it inside, but she snatched it back, her grip tight. "Sorry," she mumbled. "It's personal?" "No worries," Mike said, holding up his hands. "Let's get you inside." The front door creaked open, and Lily bounded into the hallway, her blonde pigtails bouncing. "Daddy," she squealed, throwing her arms around his waist. Then she noticed Chloe, her blue eyes widening. "Who's that?" "This is Chloe," Mike said, ruffling Lily's hair. "She's staying with us tonight. Be nice, okay?" Sarah appeared behind Lily, her coat already on. "Everything's fine, Mike. Lily's been an angel, as usual." She glanced at Chloe, her brow furrowing slightly, but she didn't say anything. "Thanks, Sarah," Mike said, pulling out a crumpled 20 from his pocket. "I owe you." Sarah waved it off. "Keep it, you need it more than I do." She gave Chloe a polite smile before heading out into the rain. Mike locked the door behind her and turned to his unexpected guests. "All right, Chloe, you hungry? I've got some leftover lasagna in the fridge." Chloe shook her head. "I'm okay. Just tired." "Fair enough. Lily, show Chloe the bathroom. She can borrow some of your clothes to sleep in." Lily grabbed Chloe's hand, undeterred by the stranger's dampness. "Come on. I've got pajamas with unicorns on them." Chloe managed a small smile as Lily dragged her down the hall. Mike watched them go, a strange warmth settling in his chest. Lily had her mother's heart. Open, trusting, quick to love. He just hoped he wasn't making a mistake. An hour later, Chloe was showered and dressed in Lily's two small pajamas, her wet clothes tumbling in the dryer. She sat at the kitchen table, picking at a plate of lasagna Mike had insisted she eat. Lily was curled up on the couch, already half asleep with a cartoon playing softly on the TV. Mike leaned against the counter, sipping coffee, watching Chloe carefully. "You don't have to tell me anything," he said quietly. "But if you're in trouble, I can help. Or at least point you to someone who can." Chloe's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "I'm not in trouble. I just needed to get away for a bit." "From what?" She set the fork down, her shoulders slumping. "My dad. He's intense. Always controlling everything. I just wanted one night where I didn't have to be who he wants me to be." Mike nodded, understanding more than she knew. Parents can be tough. But running away doesn't fix much, it just makes you cold and wet. Chloe laughed, a small, bitter sound. "Yeah, well, you try living with James Whitford." Mike froze, the coffee mug halfway to his lips. "James Whitford. As in Whitford Enterprises. The billionaire." Chloe's eyes widened, realizing her mistake. I shouldn't have said that." Mike set the mug down, his mind racing. James Whitford was a name you saw in Forbes, a tech mogul whose company built everything from smartphones to satellites. His daughter had been in the tabloids a few times. Charlotte Whitford, the heiress to a fortune. But the girl sitting at his table didn't look like a pampered princess. She looked scared. "Your name's not Chloe, is it?" he asked gently. She shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. "It's Charlotte. But please, don't tell anyone. I just needed one night to be normal." Mike exhaled slowly, processing. "All right, Charlotte. Your secret's safe with me. But you can't stay out here forever. Your dad's probably got half the country looking for you." "I know," she whispered. I don't know how to go back." Mike glanced at Lily, who was now fully asleep, her tiny chest rising and falling. He thought of his own daughter, of the life he was scraping together for her. Charlotte's world was galaxies away from his, but pain was pain. He knew what it was like to feel trapped. "Sleep on it," he said finally. "We'll figure something out in the morning." The next morning, the rain had stopped, leaving the air crisp and the grass glistening. Mike was up early, flipping pancakes in the kitchen while Lily chattered about school. Charlotte, Chloe, as she still insisted on being called, sat quietly at the table, her borrowed clothes swapped for her now dry designer ones. She looked out of place in the humble kitchen, but she was trying, helping Lily pour orange juice and even laughing at her silly jokes. Mike's phone buzzed on the counter, an unknown number. He ignored it, but it rang again. And again. On the fourth call, he answered, stepping onto the porch for privacy. "Mike Harlan." The voice was sharp, authoritative. "Who's this?" "My name is Victor Lang, head of security for Whitford Enterprises. We're looking for Charlotte Whitford. We have reason to believe she's with you." Mike's stomach dropped. "How did you?" "Your neighbor, Sarah Jenkins, posted on social media about a strange girl at your house last night. Someone recognized Charlotte from the description. We're tracing your address now." Mike glanced through the window at Charlotte, who was helping Lily stack pancakes into a smiley face. "She's safe," he said. "She's just a kid who needed a break." "We're sending a car," Victor said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Do not let her leave, and do not speak to the press." The line went dead. Mike stood there, the phone still in his hand, his heart pounding. He didn't want to hand Charlotte over like some lost package, but what choice did he have? James Whitford wasn't the kind of man you said no to. He went back inside, forcing a smile. "Charlotte, we need to talk." Her face paled as he explained the call. "They found me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry," Mike said. "I didn't tell anyone." "Sarah must have. It's not your fault." She stood, grabbing her backpack. "I should go before they get here." "You can't run," Mike said, blocking the door. "They'll find you again. And next time, you might not end up somewhere safe." Lily looked between them, confused. "What's going on, Daddy?" "Nothing, sweetheart," Mike said, kneeling to hug her. "Chloe's dad is coming to get her, that's all." Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to go back." Mike's heart ached for her. He thought of Lily, of how he'd fight the world to keep her safe. Charlotte deserved that too. "Let me talk to your dad," he said suddenly. "Maybe I can help." "You don't know him," Charlotte said. "He doesn't listen to anyone." "Maybe not," Mike said. "But I'm a dad too. We speak the same language." The black SUVs pulled up less than an hour later, their tires crunching on the gravel driveway. Mike stood on the porch, Lily clinging to his leg, Charlotte behind him. Victor Lang stepped out first, a tall man in a tailored suit, his expression unreadable. Behind him, another man emerged, James Whitford himself, his silver hair impeccably styled, his face a mask of controlled fury. "Charlotte," James called, his voice booming. "Get in the car, now." Charlotte flinched but didn't move. Mike stepped forward, his hands raised. "Mr. Whitford, can we talk for a minute?" James's eyes narrowed. "You're Harlan?" "Yes, sir. Mike Harlan. Your daughter's safe, I promise you that. She just needed a night to breathe." James glanced at Charlotte, his jaw tight. "She doesn't get to decide that. She's a child. She's old enough to know when she's hurting." Mike said, his voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. "I'm not telling you how to parent, sir. But I know what it's like to lose someone you love. My wife died 5 years ago. I've been raising my daughter alone ever since. Charlotte's not asking for much. Just a little understanding." James stared at him, something flickering in his eyes. "You have no idea what it's like to have the world watching your every move. The threats. The risks." "No, I don't," Mike admitted. "But I know what it's like to feel like you're drowning. Charlotte's not trying to hurt you. She's trying to save herself." Charlotte stepped forward, her voice trembling but clear. "Dad, I'm sorry I ran. But I can't keep living like this. The bodyguards, the schedules, the pretending everything's perfect. I just want to be your daughter, not your project." James looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time. The anger in his face softened, replaced by something raw and unguarded. "I'm trying to keep you safe, Charlotte. After your mother. I know," she said softly. "But I'm not her. And I'm not going to break." The silence stretched, heavy and tense. Finally James nodded to Victor. "Give us a minute." Victor hesitated but stepped back. James approached Charlotte, his voice low. "We'll talk. Really talk. But you don't run again. Promise me." "I promise," Charlotte said, tears streaming down her face. James turned to Mike. "You kept her safe. That means something." He reached into his coat, pulling out a business card. "If you ever need anything, call me." Mike took the card, stunned. "Thank you, sir." James climbed back into the SUV. And Charlotte followed after, hugging Lily tightly. "Thank you," she whispered to Mike. "For everything." As the SUVs pulled away, Lily tugged on Mike's hand. "Is Chloe coming back?" Mike smiled, watching the taillights disappear. "Maybe, kiddo, maybe." Life went back to normal, or as normal as it could be for a single dad in Willow Creek. Mike worked his shifts at the diner, paid the bills as best he could, and tucked Lily into bed every night. But something had changed. A week after Charlotte left, a letter arrived in the mail, no return address, just a thick envelope with his name on it. Inside was a check for 100 Zollhosen, signed by James Whitford, and a note for keeping my daughter safe. "Use it well. J.W." Mike stared at the check, his hands shaking. It was enough to pay off the house, cover Lily's school, maybe even take a vacation. But more than that, it was a lifeline, a chance to breathe. He called the number on the business card, and James answered himself. "Mr. Whitford, I can't accept this," Mike said. "It's too much." "You earned it," James said. "And there's more where that came from if you're interested. I could use someone like you, someone with integrity, a job maybe, or a partnership." "Your call." Mike was speechless. A job. With Whitford Enterprises. It was a world he couldn't imagine. But as he looked at Lily, coloring at the kitchen table, he thought of Charlotte, of the night she'd spent in their home, of the way she'd laughed with his daughter. Maybe worlds weren't so far apart after all. Months later, Mike stood in a sleek office in New York City, a Whitford Enterprises badge clipped to his shirt. He'd taken the job. Not for the money, but for the chance to build something for Lily. Charlotte was thriving, too, enrolled in a school she loved, with a father who was learning to listen. She visited Willow Creek sometimes, bringing Lily gifts and stories of her new life.